This morning, I want to talk to you guys on Grad Sunday. I'm really proud of you guys for your accomplishments. But I want to look at something real quick. What Hilton said last week was very impactful. Something he said last week, he said, what matters most is your heart and where you stand with Jesus. In the end, what matters most is your heart and where you stand with Jesus. All this other stuff is great. Graduating high school is great, and graduating college is great, and, maybe you have a great job, and that's great, and maybe you live in a, nice house, and you have some nice vehicle to drive, and all this other stuff, it's great. It's not bad stuff. But in the end, all that's going to matter is your heart and where you stand with Jesus. And as we reflect on that, what he said last week, and as this morning, as we celebrate our grads, I don't necessarily want to give you guys advice, but I want you to examine your life. And I want to challenge you as you head off to college or job opportunities or in life in general. Church, I want to challenge you as well. I want you to examine your life. And I want to challenge you as you continue whatever journey you are currently on, wherever that may be today. And here's the question I want to look at today. What are you building your life on? Knowing in the end that all that's really going to matter is where you personally stand with Jesus Christ. What are you building your life on? Are you building your life on college? Are you building it on high school? Are you building it on an occupation? Are you building it on money or materials or your entertainment? Is your life built on those things? Or maybe I should say, who are you building your life on? Are you building your life on your spouse? Are you building your life on your kids, which is so easy for us as parents to do sometimes, right? To build our life on our kids, and our world revolves around our kids. Are you building your life on maybe a friend that you have, or are you building your life on yourself? Who are you building your life on? What are you building your life on? Knowing in the end, where you stand with Jesus is all that's really going to matter. Jesus gives us great advice in Matthew, and I want to pass that on to you today. Most of us know this, but does our life really reveal it? I once heard someone say, how you do one thing is how you do everything. How you do one thing is how you do everything. If you are lazy at home, then most likely you're going to be lazy at school or work or in other areas of your life. If you work hard at home, then most likely then you're going to work hard in school and in life and at your job or in other activities that you have in other areas of your life. How you do one thing is how you do everything. If you do one thing with Jesus, maybe you're doing everything with Jesus. If you choose not to do things with Jesus, are you doing anything with him at all? How you do one thing is how you do everything. What and who are your life build? What and who are you building your life on? Because the answer to the question will impact the decisions that you make in life. The opposite is true as well. Look at the choices you make, and you will see what or who you build your life on. Truly examine the choices you made this past week, and it will reveal a lot about who and what you're building your life on. We are going to look at the parable in Matthew 13 this morning, and Jesus gives us a really good understanding of this, right? So with this question of who or what are we building our life on? Because the answer dictates how you live your life. We're going to look at 4 groups of people in this parable in Matthew 13 this morning. So if you have your Bibles, would you please turn with me to Matthew chapter 13. And we're going to flip back and forth between some verses here. I hear sometimes I go too fast up here. It doesn't bode you guys well if you don't like that I go too fast, because I actually had a coffee this morning, which I don't drink a whole lot, but also had a Krispy Kreme donut with it. So there's sugar everywhere going up here. So I'll try to be a little slower, but I may go super, super fast because I got a lot of sugar in me this morning. I never eat a donut, so look out. All right, 4 groups of people that we're going to look at this morning. The first group of people are those, number 1 in your notes, is those with no understanding. Those with no understanding. We turn to 13 in Matthew, and we look at verse 3. It says in verse 3, then he is Jesus here, told them as these people, so Jesus is at this point sitting in a boat, and there are people kind of on shore, and he's talking to them, right? Jesus is giving them instruction, okay? So he's on this boat, there's people out here, and he's talking to them. So he is Jesus. He told them many things in parables. So Jesus will talk in a parable here, okay? And we're going to look at the first one. And he goes on to say, a farmer went out to sow his seed. A farmer went out to sow his seed. Now, what does sow your seed mean, right? So sowing your seed is to start a process that will cause a particular result, right? To start a process that will cause a particular result. Grads, you are getting ready to start a process, right? Whether it's going to college or a new job, you are starting a process that you're hoping will have a particular result. Maybe it's a college degree, maybe it's a good job that's you get an advancement in, right? But you're starting a process hoping to have a result, right? Church, some of us, all right, have started a process. Maybe the process is, you're getting married. That's starting a process, hoping for a particular result. You're hoping for a happy, great marriage, right? Maybe you started a process of, you're having a child, right? You're hoping that one day this process will end in a very good, young, rounded human being, right? This child, right? You're starting a process, looking for a particular result. Maybe recently you've had a job change. Maybe you're buying a house. Maybe you've entered the world of grandparenting, right? There's starting, throughout life, you start processes and you're hoping to get a particular result. And that's what this farmer is doing now. He is starting the process, hoping to get a particular result, right? So as we go on in verse 4 here, it says, as he, the farmer, was scattering the seed, some fell along the path, and the birds came and ate it up. So the farmer has seed, he's spreading the seed, he's hoping to get this particular result and probably this nice plant that he'll have. And as he's doing it, all right, some falls along the path that he's on. And the birds are coming and swooping and eating the seed up. All right, let me give you a different illustration. All right, how many of you guys like movies? Anybody like movies? Anybody like movies? Okay, my favorite movie probably all time is probably Woodlawn. If you ever see Woodlawn, that's a really good movie. But I like to watch movies, all right, and it looks like several of you in here do as well. If you want to go see a movie, what do we usually do? What do we usually do before we go see a movie? Anybody know? Eat? Yes, that's true. But usually, and it could be at home, or it could be, I'm going to the movies. By the way, Salem Valley 8 closed. That's not fun, right? But so you go to the movies. Typically, what you'll do is you'll watch the preview. Very good, right? Have you ever been there? Sometimes, especially with like Netflix these days, you'll start watching previews on Netflix. You're like, oh, that movie looks good. That movie looks good. That movie looks good. Oh, that's a good movie there. And before you know it, you spend an hour watching previews. You never actually watched the movie. You're like, I could have watched half the movie by now, right? Like, everybody ever done that, right? Or you'll be watching something on TV. Maybe it's a game. Maybe it's whatever show or whatever, and a preview will pop on, and you'll be like, oh, I want to see that movie. That movie looks good, right? So you see the preview, and it draws you to the movie. You want to go see that movie. All right? Well, the opposite is true as well, because I was in a movie theater, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, and all of a sudden, this preview come on, and it was like these two guys in this abandoned street traveling, and one had to use the bathroom, so they stopped on the side of the street, and he went off to use the bathroom, and like, I don't know, he doesn't really come back, and so... he comes back, but I think in a weird way. And then, so the guy takes off down the street, and he's seeing weird people on the side of the street. You guys know what I'm talking about? It's called like Passengers or something. I'm never going to see Passengers, okay? Like, this is a movie I do not want to see. Like, it looked very scary, very vivid. So for me, any scary movie, any weird type movie, I'm out. I immediately reject the movie. Like, I am not going. You can't pay me to go see that type of movie. Right? So I see the preview, and I pretty much immediately reject the movie. Does that make sense? Have you ever done that before? Okay, maybe some of you have. All right, well, that's what we're kind of talking about here. Okay, as we go back and look, so once this parable, the great thing about this parable is Jesus will tell us what this means. So if we skip over to verse 19, all right, in this parable about this farmer that's laying seed down and the birds are just eating it up, it goes on to say in verse 19, when anyone, all right, hears the message about the kingdom and does not understand it, the evil one comes and snatches away what was sown in their heart. This is the seed sown along the path, right? So this refers, all right, this refers to those who don't understand. They hear about God, but they immediately reject him. Like, I'll reject that movie Passengers. I'm not going to see that, right? They hear about him, but they reject him. They want nothing to do with him. They're not going to church. They're not reading their Bible. They're not looking into it. They don't want to really, talk about him. They just don't understand. And that's the first group of people that Jesus is telling about him. Some people will hear my word, will hear about me, and they just don't understand. And just like rejecting the movie that I'm not going to go see, that's what they do with God, right? They reject him, right? They don't really want anything to do with him, right? So that's the first group of people that hear about the word, those who don't understand. Then he tells us about the second group of people. And the second group of people are those with no root. Those with no root. So if we go back over to verse 5 in chapter 13, it says, we got some on the path, some of the seed fell on rocky places where it did not have much soil. It sprang up quickly because the soil was shallow. But in verse 6, when the sun came up, the plants were scorched and they withered because they had no root. See, some of the seed landed on the rocky places. We got some on the path, the birds come and swoop it up, right? Those are the people that just don't understand. Now we've got some on the rocky places. Some of the seed falls on the rocky places, and it comes up, but there's no root because there's a bunch of rocks down there, right? So when the sun comes out, it just gets burnt up. It just withers away because there's no root, there's no foundation there, right? It's like when you see a preview of a movie, and maybe you don't reject it right away, but the movie looks good. It sounds good. The story may be interesting, so you may go actually watch the movie. But it didn't really have an impact on you, and most likely you're going to forget that you even saw the movie. Sometimes me and Kelly will be flipping through movies or whatever, and I'll get to a movie and I'll be like, did we see this? And she'll be like, yeah, we watched this. I saw the movie, but it didn't really impact me, right? I didn't really, I forgot it. I forgot that we even saw it. Or sometimes she'll be like, did we see this movie? And I'm like, yeah, we saw this movie 10 years ago. And she'll be like, oh, I forgot we saw this, right? Or you get into a movie sometimes, and you're like, I think I've seen this before. Right? So you saw it, but there was no really impact there on that, with that movie, right? And so when we look at that, on verse, what does this mean? We go over to verse 20, and Jesus tells us, the seed falling on the rocky ground refers to someone who hears the word and at once receives it with joy. But since they have no root, they last only a short time. When trouble or persecution comes because of the word, they quickly fall away. They quickly fall away. So this refers to those who hear about God, they receive him with joy, but that's kind of where it stops, right? So they may come to church a few times a year, maybe on Easter and Christmas and a couple other times, to check out. They may have a conversation about God, with others to kind of gain some more information, but there's no root there. There's no foundation there, right? There's no, because of this rocky ground below, right? So when the world gets tough, it just kind of eats them up. It burns them up, right? It burns these people. We see this happen a lot of times at youth camp. We have youth camp, right? And everybody at youth camp's on a high, right? And somebody will have a youth that will make a commitment to Jesus. But then we come back from youth camp, right? And then in a month or two, we never see them anymore, right? They received the message, right, with joy at the time, but there's no root, there's no foundation. It's rocky down there. So the world just kind of consumes them, right? Burns them up, eats them up. And all of a sudden we just don't see them anymore, right? Sometimes if you have revivals or things like that, choices are made, right? And then all of a sudden, you don't see that in those people anymore, right? Like they just kind of wither away. The world just overwhelms them. These are the people with no root that Jesus is referring to. So we've got those with no understanding, and we've got those with no root. Let's look at the third group of people that Jesus is talking about. The third group is those with no fruit. Those with no fruit. As we go back to verse 7 in Matthew 13, it says, other seed fell among thorns, which grew up and choked the plants. Other seed fell among thorns, which grew up and choked the plants. Some of the seed landed among the thorns, which eventually were choked out, ended up choking out the plants, right? It's like this. You go to see, you see a preview of a movie. It looks good, it sounds good, the story may be interesting, so you go and watch the movie, and this movie actually impacts you. You don't forget that you saw it, right? You really like the movie. Like for you, it's like an 8 out of 10, right? It wasn't the best movie you ever saw, but it's really good. And you're not probably, you're not gonna forget. If you see it again, like on TV or something, or some other preview, you'll be like, I remember seeing that movie, right? It's like an 8 out of 10. You would actually, if they made a sequel, you would actually go back to the sequel, right? You would be like, if they make a sequel, I'll go back. If they make something, if something better doesn't come up, I'd go see the sequel, right? Right? So this is kind of what we're talking about here. And when we see, Jesus tells us in verse 22, to get understanding of this seed that's landed among the thorns, it says in verse 22, the seed falling among the thorns refers to someone who hears the word, but the worries of this life and the deceitfulness of wealth choke the word, making it unfruitful. Making it unfruitful. See, this refers to those people who hear about God. They commit maybe to coming to church. They say the right things in front of people. They read their Bible from time to time if it's convenient. And, they do things conveniently for them if it's, available. But there's no commitment necessarily to God or a priority for God, all right? So when life's worries come along or the busyness of life comes along, it kind of overcomes them, right? The worries, the anxiety, the busyness, the rush of life, it just kind of overcomes them. It chokes them out, right? Church is there, and it's going to be used when it's not an inconvenience, right? Or something better doesn't arise or come up, right? I believe this is very common in the world we live in today. We call these Christians convenience Christians. Convenience Christians. When it's convenient and I don't have anything else going on, I'll read my Bible. When it's convenient and I don't have anything else going on, I'll talk to God. When it's convenient and I don't have anything else going on, I'll make my way to church, right? Those are that's what we talk about. They say they're Christians, but their life has no fruit, right? It's only when it's convenient to them. So there's no fruit coming out of them, right? So we've got these three groups of people here, those with no understanding, those with no root, and then those with no fruit. Then Jesus is going to tell us about the fourth group of people. And those are those who produce. And this is the sweet spot. This is the desire. This is where we should thrive and strive to be at. Right here. Those who produce. We look at verse 8. And Jesus says, still other seed fell on the good soil, where it produced a crop, 160 or 30 times what was sown. 160 or 30 times what was sown. See, some of the seed fell and landed on the good soil, which eventually produced a massive crop. It's like this. You see the preview of the movie. It looks good, it sounds good, the story's interesting, so you go watch the movie. But this movie impacts you, right? Like, have you ever been to a movie before and you think about it for the rest of the day, or maybe the days after, or maybe a week after? I've seen a movie like that a time or two. Like, it truly impacts you, right? For a day or a week or maybe a couple weeks, you think about this movie. You loved this movie. It was a 10 out of 10 in your movie ranking book, right? You're hoping they make a sequel of this movie. And you won't even, not just will you just go see the sequel, you want to be in the sequel of the movie, right? You love it that much, right? That's what we're kind of talking about here, all right? In verse 23, Jesus tells us about this good soil. It says, but the seed falling on good soil refers to someone who hears the word and understands it. Not like the first group of people who didn't understand it and rejected it. But they hear it and they understand it. This is the one who produces a crop. See, we're not talking about convenience Christians anymore. We're not talking about if I have time, I'll make time for God anymore. We're talking about this is for the one who produces a crop, yielding 160 or 30 times what was sown. This refers and relates to those who form an actual relationship with God. Truly surrendering their lives to God, building their lives on Him, and allowing Him to flow through them, to reach others, to speak through them, to reach others. They truly love God and follow Him wherever He leads them. And because of this, God's kingdom grows. God uses people to reach others. And these people, those who produce, all right, God is the priority. I will make time to learn more about Him and read my Bible. I will make time to talk to Him on a daily basis. I will make time to show up to church and be around other believers. I will make Him a priority in my life. And then everything else is secondary. This is a total flip from the ones with no fruit. This is a total flip from the ones with no root or no understanding. See, this is a different mindset. And if God is first and everything else is second, this is the group of people He's talking about. And when that becomes a priority in my life, and grads, I'm talking to you, church, I'm talking to you right now. When that becomes the priority in your life, all of a sudden you become in that group of those who produce. And He will work through you to produce other Christ followers. Like I said, that's the sweet spot. This is where we want to strive to be. See, when we see that great movie, it'll impact us for a couple days or a couple weeks. But when we hear about Jesus and we give our lives to Him and we fall into this group of people that produce, it impacts us. Not for a day, not for a week, not for a month after summer camp. It impacts us for the rest of our lives. That's the difference. We're not walking around with no fruit. We're not walking around with no root. We're not walking around with no understanding. We're walking around with a purpose, and that purpose is Jesus. And that purpose is to share that with other people in our lives and allow Him to work through us and flow through us and use us to bring others to Him. And we fall in that group of people that produce, and that's where we must strive to be. It's not a decision we made at summer camp or a decision we made one day and our life looks nothing like what Jesus wants us to look like. It's a decision that we made that impacts us for the rest of our lives, not a week and not a day. See, life is kind of like a movie, since we're on the movie thing, right? When you hear about God, about Jesus, to sum it up, you will either, one, you're going to reject the movie because of the preview. Like for me, that one movie, I forget that. I ain't seeing that. You couldn't pay me to go in there. You reject the movie. You don't understand. You reject. Or you're following group number two. You go to the movie and you watch it, but then you pretty much forget about it. There's no root there. There's no root. When the world gets kind of crazy, there's nothing to stand on. Or you're like number three, you go to the movie and you'd go see it again, and if they make a sequel, you would see it if it's convenient. But there's no fruit. Nobody's coming to Jesus through you because there's no fruit there. Or you fall into the sweet spot. Number four, you go to the movie and you don't want to just see the sequel, you want to be in the sequel. You start producing. And people start coming to Jesus because you're willing to produce for him. See, life's like a movie. Act 1, God created everything. Act 2, sin enters the world. Act 3, Jesus solves the issue of sin on the cross. And then Act 4, that's the current day. That's the time period we're in. That's the world we're in right now. And then there's going to be Act 5. And that's when Jesus comes back. And Jesus will come back to take over. So what are you doing in Act 4? Where are you at in Act 4 this morning, right now, today? Probably not many of you are in here are in the first group because you're here. You haven't rejected the first group. But we may have a lot of people in here in the second group. There's no root. And you're here because maybe just, it was convenient this morning. Maybe somebody's graduating this morning. Or maybe we've got a lot of people here that are in the third group, but there's no fruit. Because your relationship with God is only there on your time and your convenience. How many people here this morning do we have that are producing? That are allowing God to flow through them to reach others for him? How many people this morning do we have in the sweet spot? Here's the great thing. Choice is yours. You get to make the choice. What group do you want to be in? You want to be in the first group, second group, third group, fourth group? Nobody's making a choice for you. Your spouse doesn't make the choice for you. Your kids don't make the choice for you. Your parents don't make the choice for you. Nobody's making the choice for you. You get to decide what group you're in. High school grads, you get to decide. Your next stage of life, what group are you going to fall in? College grads, you get to decide. Church, you get to decide. Youth, you get to decide what group you fall in. No root, no fruit, no understanding, or are you going to produce? You get to decide. And the choice you make will not only have an impact on your life, but it's going to have an impact on those around you as well. So the challenge this morning is who or what are you building your life on? And choose wisely, because your choice will impact your life, and it's also going to have an impact on those around you. That's the challenge this morning. Don't go through this world. Don't wait too long, grads. Don't wait too long, youth, to make this choice. To make this choice. Every individual will make it. Make sure you're making the choice that's going to produce other Christ followers in your life. We're going to do something special this morning with our grads. I'm going to have you guys come just stand up here. We're going to through this last song here, we're going to give you guys an opportunity to come pray with any of these grads as they head off to college or jobs or new jobs or whatever it may be. You don't come on up, just spread out. Spread that way, Dylan, a little bit. Go down there, man, it'll get crowded probably. We're going to give you this morning, church, as a church to just come and put your hands on them possibly and just pray for them as they go into their next venture. And I would ask you to do this. Pray that they become people that produce fruit. You all right, Adam? He's good. Now you're good. That'd be the challenge. Come and lay your hands on these grads and say, God, I just want Dylan to be someone that produces fruit for you. Maybe you are someone this morning that needs to change what category you fall in. Don't wait. Make that choice this morning. We should strive to hit the sweet spot. We should strive to be producers of God's kingdom. So pray that for them this morning, wherever God's going to take them. He's going to have people in their lives that they can impact. But they have to make a choice that they're going to be producers to impact those people. The same is true for you. So let's take on that challenge this morning, church. Thank you.